Today is Saturday, April 3rd. Just doing a look at the seedlings. Over here are going to be some flowers. They're not quite ready for me to repot them, but they will be soon. These are borage. And garlic chives. This is a moonflower. He had trouble getting out of his seed casing, but he'll be fine. He's got some good little new growth coming. These are just his original leaves. And then all around I've got these tomatillos. We're going to keep a couple ourselves for green salsa and give a couple to Luke's sister for her garden. And these are just a few. They're looking okay. They got a little leggy, but I think they'll be all right. And then I have a lot of onions growing. The onions will need to go out into the garden very soon. They're supposed to go out when they're about the size of a toothpick around, and they're about that. It's good timing. They'll go out in the garden within the next week or so. Then this little bin, I planted things that are actually, in my experience, quite difficult to germinate. Things like rosemary and lavender, ground cherries. So I have a couple of little guys that maybe will come up. Maybe I got one out of just scattered hundreds of seeds here. But this little patch is thyme, I believe. So I will probably select pretty soon one or two seedlings to nurture from this. And this is ground cherries, which we just love, and I'm very glad we've got some. And I will probably go through this and separate out and try to save a handful for my garden and one or two for Sarah. This is another little start of a bunch of flowers, celosias. And again, they're not quite ready to separate. They only still have their little two baby leaves, the ones they were born with. What I want to see is them growing another leaf or two before I separate them into other pots. And then here I have some broccoli and cauliflower growing in these. It's actually time to put the broccoli and the cauliflower into the garden, so I've got some bigger ones that were started earlier, but these are extras. I don't know if they're quite ready. I'll have to see if they end up making it into the garden. I have a bunch more. Back here I have a mix of things that I planted all at once in this little seed starting tray. Various kales, some spinach, which I'm going to probably give to Luke's sister. She loves spinach. More kale, a bunch of little pepper plants, some of which I will keep, but some are just extra. I have a lot of peppers already started that are doing great. These are my extras. And then over here, these lovelies are my okra. So we're gonna do a little line of okra. They are so beautiful and tasty. That's just this little section of my counter in my kitchen. Then here in my dish tray, because I was watering them and wanted them to drain a little bit, I've got some Persian basil that I just separated out this week from a little flat. They were all growing together. I separated them out. They're looking okay. And this is just Genovese basil. So is this. This is a nice, beautiful looking basil. Looks like it's going to be good. Down here, see, that's the baby leaves that they are born with. And this is the true plant that comes up above, and you know they're ready to transplant whenever you see that. And then one of my nasturtiums that I've started, that I've kept in this littler pot, it's doing just fine. And it'll grow nice and big when it's transplanted either into a bigger pot or outside. It's doing great right now. These are more basil, yeah, sacred basil, which I got actually for my medicine garden because I'm gonna try to start a medicine garden this year. And that is also ready to be potted out probably. I'm seeing some, you know, multiple leaves, but I haven't done it yet because it actually, you know, takes a little bit of time to sit down and take all these, separate them out into individual pots, and then you end up with one in each pot. So I will be doing that at some point pretty soon. They're fine right now. So that's one section that I have growing in my kitchen. Garden tours are kitchen tours this time of year. All right, so over here in this little edge of my counter, I have some tomatoes. These are just a couple varieties, and frankly, these are actually the extras. These are not, well, some of them I might keep, but I only need sort of 2 or maybe 3 of each variety. I have a lot of different varieties. And I'm giving a few to Sarah, but you know, I ended up with some extras, so we'll see what ends up happening to them. I'll probably try to give them away. What do I have? Dr. Wychee. In here too, I have some, it's a sweet gold cherry. Pretty. This one's doing great. Yeah, another sweet gold. It's a sweet gold cherry tomato, which will be just a cherry, you know, yellow cherry tomato. Very nice. There you go. And then that's another Dr. Wychee down here. And then I have these guys are not doing great. These are my white wonder tomato plants. They were doing great, and then all of a sudden not. So I'm not sure. See, that's dropping its whole stems. I did give these a good watering. They are very still clogged with water, so I think I might have overwatered. Overall, tomatoes are pretty resilient, so I may see this guy come back if I leave him alone for a while, but we'll have to see. Not sure. I have lots of more tomato starts. These are truly my extras from what I was starting for Sarah, not the ones I was starting for my own garden, but if they come back, maybe they get given away. I think that's another white wonder. And then also in here, a few more of the basil, the Persian basil that I had just separated out this week. So they've got this pretty little purple center. All right. Here we have our lemon bush. It is not doing great because it was being attacked by these little bug things. It creates sort of a sticky, see if I can tell. Yeah, see, they're sort of, they like to go for the fruity parts and they attack them, and we just lost a lot of like leaves and buds and flowers. You see these are just bare. We have been spraying this with combinations of neem oil, or diluted, right? And some mixtures of just some like dish soap and oil. It seems to be helping a bit, and I hope this guy stays healthy and alive. Obviously, it's nice to get, it would be great to get a lemon or something. But I also just love this plant because it smells so nice. The flowers smell so sweet. It makes the kitchen smell nice. Once it really warms up, this guy will live on my deck for the summer, but it's pretty cold outside still for anything like this to live. This is just a Myers lemon bush with some pretty things stuck in it from, oh gosh, there's a bug. Ugh. All right, here's another little seedling starting tray. Some of this is just where I've recently pulled out seedlings and transplanted them, and I just have dirt here because maybe I'll plant some more seeds, but I haven't decided what. That's a hollyhock, so is this. And then these are different types of basil. This is a lemon basil. Again, basil takes a while to get started, but maybe that's almost close enough. I see the 2 leaves and the little tiny ones. Maybe by the end of the week, I'll be able to transplant these guys out into slightly bigger pots. And then this guy's a lettuce leaf basil. That's definitely, we could transplant that out and these guys will just grow real big. It's basil and their leaves are big as lettuce leaves, so you can do fun things like make wraps with basils. And there's one more Persian basil from when I was separating them out. And a little bit of lemongrass, again for the, probably do this in more of a medicine garden situation. I hear lemongrass is actually pretty much of a bully in the garden, so I might just keep it in like a potted situation. We'll see. I haven't grown that before. I do not recall what all of these are. Obviously they need to be thinned. Let's see if I have a label on it. That, oh, those are my poppies. Well, they are doing great. Those are poppies. So I might take one of these. I've never grown poppies before. So I might take one and see if they can be separated out into different pots the same way I do my vegetables. And if not, I'll just trim them down and I'll have, you know, at least one or two of each. But they are really need to be thinned and separated. That is nice. They're a little dry. I need to put some water in this whole seeding tray. Some green onions. Say some like chives. See how those work. I'll also just plant those out in the garden very soon. Just seeds out in the garden. What's this? Oh, Shannon's plant. My friend Shannon gave me a bunch of seeds from her yard down in New Orleans. This is just an ornamental, like, it's pretty and has pretty leaves. And I've planted just a couple every year. Just, they're very pretty. Maybe this year I'll be a little bit more deliberate about getting them established somewhere in the yard. These are echinacea. I mean, obviously echinacea takes years before you're going to see anything interesting from it, but started a few from seed for fun. Cabbage. This is German chamomile, which obviously I need to thin. Never grown that either. That's pretty cool that it came up so well. And then oregano, which also will take a while till it's a full bushy, I mean, it'll be a while, but at least I got a few started here, so that's great. Here's some vining things I started. These are Jacoby Littles. They'll give my like pumpkin, they're little pumpkins, tiny little pumpkins, and they'll vine around. I will start, mostly I'll start my pumpkins and that kind of thing, but from seed and directly in the garden. But these I started either for myself or for Luke's sister, just to give a little head start on I can't tell still to this day whether I think pumpkins and cucumbers and squashes are better if they transplanted as little transplants, or whether they do better as like a seed planted in the garden. I don't know that I know much of the difference. I don't think I've paid attention to which ones have done particularly better. All right, then over here I have a variety of things started. Some flowers, double click cosmos. These are definitely ready to be separated into pots. And then these are all eggplants, most of them, various eggplants. We're gonna plant a little patch of eggplants in our yard. Whenever I used the pink tag, that's a plant that I'm pretty sure I'm gonna plant in my yard. And then I've got some yellow tags around, which are pretty sure I want to give to Sarah. Here, it's another okra. And back here with the frilly leaves is a kale, ragged jack. Those are delicious. More kale. These are two different varieties of kale. These are little, I think, Long Island Brussels sprouts. They're taking, I don't know, they're a little floppy. Got a lot like this, and I don't know whether they'll particularly do well. We'll have to see how they develop. I'm trying to take great care with them right now, and maybe they'll be good. More basil. More Brussels sprout, floppy. More green onion chives. This is probably garlic chives. That one's looking pretty good. That's probably a Long Island Brussels sprout too, but this is what I want to see from it. Nice strong stem. Nice arms lifted up to the side. Not flopping over so much like this one. This isn't too bad though. That's another eggplant and more basil. More kale. More floppy. Usually when your plant gets real long, they call it leggy, and the stem is just not strong. That usually means it's not getting light enough, and obviously there's only so much that I can do about that in my setup here. I'm trying to give them enough light, but you know, not everything works perfect. What else do I have? Here's another one of those White Wonder tomatoes that just started failing, and I'm not sure it's gonna make it. We will see. A couple of these around like this. There's 3 of these little pots that I started what's called Shade Garden Mix. And it's a variety of flowers which sort of start a bunch of seeds, and then as they get to this stage, I'm going to separate them out into pots and then identify them. And then create a nice little shade garden down in the woods. So yeah, these are doing really nice. I've got 3 or 4 little pots like this. They're already quite a pretty collection, even just of their baby greens. Nice little variety of leaf shapes and things. These are wild bergamots. Again, very little, not ready to separate really yet. And again, probably for like a medicine garden or a meditation garden kind of space that I'm still thinking of developing. These are different lettuces. They really need to be thinned down. They just did really well. All of a sudden came up. But, you know, these I was hoping to have out in the garden, but they might just be too far along. And I'll eat most of them as baby greens and then maybe keep one, you know, to try to get bigger and actually get a full head on there. Very pretty. What is this one? Oh, that's another, that shade garden mix. This is a little further along. And looks like we may have mostly the same kind of one actually germinated in this. So anyway, I'll separate them out and try to identify which flower it is. And then arrange a nice garden. And there's another moonflower that, again, when they were first born, had a little trouble with its seed casing. I had to tear the seed casing off and did a little damage to the leaves. But this is a true leaf that it just grew, and I think it's gonna be fine. So it's gonna vine up and have flowers that open only at night. Be very pretty. So let's see what's over in this corner. Again, White Wonder tomato. I don't know why this particular variety isn't doing great. A few other things. Just, there's another White Wonder tomato there that's floppy. And some flowers, some celosia here. I think that's what that is. And then all of these are more lettuce, various varieties that I'm going to thin down so it's only one in each pot to grow up and go out in the garden for lettuce. And then over here are the tomatoes that I actually originally started for myself. So many different varieties, and I just, for each variety, I put, like you see, I put like 4 started in each pot. They did great. They all germinated pretty much. And then I'll separate these out, pot them up into more of the little pots that you see all around. And then I'll pick the 2 best to go in my garden, and the other 2 I will give away. And I have just a lot of varieties because I bought a lot of seeds this winter. Last year I had 6 varieties and I grew 3 plants of each, and that was plenty of work for me and plenty of tomatoes resulting for our family. So I don't want to do too many more this year, but what I want to do is more varieties, maybe 2 plants of each variety, so that I can have a lot of different types of tomatoes and really enjoy the novelty of that. And then here in the front I've got, these are all marigolds, which will go around the garden in various places. Marigolds are great for, I don't know, the pollinators like them. They're supposed to help with pest control. I don't know. And they're pretty. So they go around everywhere in the garden. Just stuffed into little corners of beds and stuff, along with basically everything they can go. And I only have this little one growing of this, but I've got other flowers around that will also go in the garden so that the bees and the things will like them. So that's this whole area. The other shelf that I have is almost entirely things